What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday, September 13th. Dan Kasper Show on the air on your radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM, also available online, sportstalk1051.com. Got your Google and Alexa home devices, the Sports Talk app, and the video stream up and rolling right now, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Appreciate you making us part of your starts on this Wednesday morning, wherever, or maybe it's Wednesday day, depending on where you're listening to us from. What do we got on the good old game plan for us here this morning? Brew Crew picking up another W last night, 3-1 victory over the Marlins. Another stellar starting pitching performance from a Milwaukee Brewer starting pitcher. Freddie Peralta picking up his 12th win of the season. Struck out 9, going 6 1/3, giving up 1 earned run that early home to start the game off there. But that was it. That was it. Marlins led the game off with a home run, but they only finished up with 2 hits. 2 hits and 1 run. Brewers shutting it down after that. Freddie Peralta reaching 200 Ks on the season for the first time in his career. Newcomer Josh Donaldson hitting a home run last night, collected a couple hits, including a walk on there too. So overall, 3-1 victory. And the Cubs lost last night to the Rockies too. So that magic number for the Brewers to clinch the division down to 14. Down to 14. So Brewers will try to go or at least clinch a series win tonight. Remember, this is the 4-game series against Miami. First pitch, 6:40 tonight, and then tomorrow they'll wrap up this series with the day game at 1:10. So we're going to talk a little bit about this game. Also yesterday, reported, finally, the worst kept secret in all of like Major League Baseball, or like that, maybe not secret, but the least shocking news. Sounds like it's finally going to happen. David Stearns hired as the new president of baseball operations for the New York Mets. Jeff Passan and others reporting that yesterday. So the thing that everybody has speculated and wondered and talked about for, it seems like, how many years now, it's finally going to happen at the end of the regular season here. Stearns still with the team in an advisor role, if you remember. But, yeah, he's going to be heading over there to the Mets. Now I'm sure talk is probably going to, I would think maybe it's kind of, I mean, we've mentioned it for the last couple months, and now you're starting to hear maybe some rumblings outside of, like, from the national sense. Could Craig Counsell join David Stearns over there in New York? I don't feel like that's going to be the case. Could be completely wrong. Counsell just doesn't seem like that type of guy, but I don't know. Maybe he'll go and join Stearns. But from all indications and from what Matt Arnold and Counsell say, Counsell and Matt Arnold have a really close relationship. So I don't know. Counsell's still not under contract for next year. Let the bidding begin, I guess, or maybe after the season or such. But when it comes to David Stearns, though, I'm really curious to hear from you, Brewers fans. What or how do you view the legacy of David Stearns' tenure with the Brewers? And I know it was only a few years, Not like double digit. Was it close to double digit? It was close, yeah. But maybe not as long as we had expected. But how would you kind of view, or how do you rate, or how do you grade, maybe depending on whatever word you want to use, verb, adjective, whatever. When you think about David Stearns' tenure with the Brewers, was it a good one? Was it a positive one? Should it be viewed positive? Should it be, and try to, and I know it's hard, but there's still going to be, a lot of fans that'll go back to that Josh Hader trade, and that'll be the big thing that sticks out to them, and maybe that's kind of the deciding factor for some Brewers fans. But overall, when you think about David's tenure with the Brewers, what stands out to you the most, or what's the biggest thing that you will take away from David's tenure with the Brewers? Are you of the notion, of the mindset that the guy, built the Brewers into, can we say, a kind of a perennial playoff team, playoff contender? I mean, what, 4 years in a row? Then they missed out by a game last year, but now they look to be going back to it. And I know Matt Arnold is technically the man in charge this year, but a lot of those guys, still from Stearns being the main man there. So do you view him in a positive light to, kind of really maybe make the Brewers would you call it right now at this point, a perennial playoff contending team, a perennial team that goes to the playoffs? Do you view it as, well, yep, he got him there, but still fell short? Still didn't do enough? Maybe didn't do enough to get him over the hump? 2018 offseason gets Lorenzo Cain, Jhoulys Chacin, trades for Christian Yelich, won the MVP over there. Also, made those moves to acquire like Moustakas. Remember Curtis Granderson too? I kind of forgot about them a little bit there. Game away from going to the World Series. Will you view David Stearns' tenure with the Brewers in a more positive light than a negative light? And try not to. And I know that Josh Hader trade is going to stick in the crawl for a lot of people, for a lot of Brewers fans out there. It will. But when you look at the overall picture, how do you view it? I'm really curious to kind of get Brewers fans' thoughts on that. So start to hit me up with some texts on the Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Or hit me up on Twitter at DANKASPER, Facebook.com/Kasper Sports. With that, kind of a question of the day. So we know right now the three aces, the three head honchos, the three amigos, whatever nickname we want to give the top three starters for the Brewers: Brandon Woodruff, Freddie Peralta, Corbin Burns. Should come up with a name for that trio over there. Something a little bit more creative than the three amigos, but that's instantly thought of the movie right away. But anyways, we know how well those three guys have been pitching. Freddie Peralta, great last night. Brandon Woodruff, first complete game shutout of his career. Corbin Burns, I mean, look at these last three starts, people. Corbin Burns had a no-no going into the eighth, and his offense couldn't just give him a couple runs. But that's the question I have. If the Brewers, let's say the Brewers are guaranteed, if you could wave a magic wand, okay, a magic sports wand out there, Brewers are guaranteed to score 3 runs every single game from now until, into the postseason. Just 3. Just 3. Like last night. Knowing you've got those 3 starters, let's kind of say, let's go to the playoffs. Let's assume that the Brewers are going to the postseason. They're going to be the 3 seed in the National League. But they're going to score 3 runs per game. 3 runs per game. Do you feel good about their chances, knowing who their three starters are, their top three starters are. And you even got Wade Miley mixed in there too as your fourth. But knowing their starting pitchers and their bullpen, if they score 3 runs per game, is that enough to get to the World Series? Just kind of, use your imagination here a little bit where we're kind of projecting and such and kind of having a little bit of a, fun topic here. But if the Brewers, when they get to the postseason, let's assume they're going to win the division, they're going to be the 3 seed. We know that they're, if they get through the first round, they're going to have to play like the Dodgers and the Braves. And maybe that's the question at hand here. If they play the Dodgers or the Braves in the postseason, if we know that they score 3 runs per game, is that enough for them to win that series because of who they got in that starting rotation? Is 3 runs enough? It's kind of similar to the question like, when we had it during football season or getting ready for the next Packer season when Rodgers was quarterback, just give him a top 10, top 15 defense and you're golden. Right? I mean, that was kind of the narrative for how many years? Last few years. Just give him a top 10, top 15 defense. Super Bowl. If you spot the Brewers 3 runs, if the Brewers just score 3 runs per game in the postseason, knowing who they got as their starters, you think that's going to be good enough to advance and get to the World Series? Is 3 runs per game enough, knowing how well Freddie Peralta and Brandon Woodruff and Corbin Burns are pitching, and then they throw in Wade Miley on there too? Think about that for a little bit and give me your thoughts on there. Okay? Give me a yay or a nay, thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever. Whatever is easier for you. Just thinking about that, watching the game last night. Freddie Peralta on the mound, doing his thing. Brewers holding him to just 2 total hits after a home run in the first inning. And then you look back at these last starts, Corbin, Brandon. It's like, man, these guys are humming right now. These 3 starters. We talked, been talking about yesterday, and I was kind of talking about it yesterday with the momentum to ride it into the postseason. They got momentum with their starters right now. You're just maybe looking for a little bit more of that consistency with the offense. But if they just do 3 runs, is that enough? Ideally, we would like more. We know that. But considering the up and down nature of everything with this offense, is 3 enough? Also on the docket here this morning, we'll talk a little football. We know, Aaron Rodgers officially done for the year now with that Achilles tear. So Packers will officially get the Jets' second-round pick for the next draft, wherever that pick may be. But Packers will return to practice today. We'll hopefully get maybe a little bit of an update on the injury situations with Aaron Jones, Christian Watson, maybe Quay Walker a little bit over there too. But, this is the first day back at practice, so don't be surprised if some of those guys maybe aren't on the field or maybe a little bit of a limited action at that point. But nonetheless, we'll hear from Matt LaFleur and we'll get some updates as the Packers start to prepare for their second game of the season against the Atlanta Falcons. So we'll chat, throw a little football chat in there as well. It is Wednesday, so we'll do some stock reports. Whose stocks are rising, whose stocks are falling right now. Play along with us. Okay, it's not just us giving us our stock reports, but you had to, I want to know your stock reports too. Okay. I want to know your stock reports too. Whose stock is rising, whose stock is falling, in your opinion. So we'll get to that probably around, let's say 8 o'clock, 8:05, that sort of thing. Also, I might want to throw a little Bucks chat in just to kind of mix it up here because, I mean, in the last, maybe last week, couple weeks, so Giannis has kind of been in the news there, and some of the quotes from some of his interviews and such. But Giannis been talking about maybe potentially his future with Milwaukee. Wants to make sure that they're still of the mindset that it's all about championships. I saw a quote from him. I think it was yesterday. He's like, I'm getting tired of kind of talking about Game 6 NBA Finals from a few years ago because he wants to win more. He wants to win more championships. Adrian Griffin, there was an interview with him, the new Bucks head coach, kind of talked about his relationship so far with Giannis. Giannis posting up pics, working out with his team yesterday and such. But I might want to throw a little Bucks chat into this thing and kind of get your thoughts and your reaction from some of the stuff that Giannis has been saying in the last, let's say, probably a couple weeks or so. So kind of mix it up. I know we don't get the NBA season starting till late next month. Preseason officially tips off in under a month and such, but kind of go through some of those comments and if you haven't heard them, maybe get your reaction from them too. So we'll hit that up a little bit later on here. But let's get things going here on the leadoff. Let's begin things talking some baseball. Brewers magic number down to 14 with a win last night, and Cubs lost to the Rockies. Freddie Peralta, another fantastic outing from him. You got back to back to back awesome starts from a Brewers starting pitcher. With that, with how well these guys are throwing the ball right now, is 3 runs a game in the postseason enough to advance, to make a deep run into the postseason? And I'm kind of focusing on it, not to look too far ahead, but if they got to go up against Atlanta with that offense, right? With that offense from the Braves. I mean, Olsen right now is on a tear, 51st home run, for crying out loud. If the Brewers averaged 3 runs per game in a series against a team like the Braves, knowing who their starters are, knowing who the Brewers starters are, and how well they're pitching right now, is that enough, in your opinion, you think they can win that series? Essentially, what I'm asking is, do you think the Brewers starters can quiet down, shut down an offense like the Braves right now, if they were to play each other in the postseason? Start to let me know. Hit me up with some texts, tweets, Facebook, video stream comments, all that fun stuff. We'll take our first break, and we'll get things going here on this Wednesday morning. Lead off, Brewers, another W. Let's talk some baseball after these quick words. Life can be a real pain, but you know what? It doesn't have to be. That is if you visit Shepke Chiropractic. At Shepke Chiropractic, they are dedicated to helping you achieve a pain-free, healthy life. Dr. Logan understands that each person is unique and will tailor their care to meet your specific needs. Their goal is to work with each patient to achieve their goals and perform to their fullest potential in the capacity that their life requires. They offer in depth assessment and a thorough, caring approach to correcting your body, mind, and soul. So, let me ask you two simple questions. Are you tired of living with pain and discomfort? Are you ready to take control of your health and well being? Don't let pain hold you back any longer. Make your appointment with Shepke Chiropractic at one of their two locations today. Just visit shepkechiropractic.com to learn more and to book your appointment today. All right, let's get the lead off going here. I put up a poll question on Twitter for anybody who's got the X or Twitter or whatever we're calling it right now. With how well the Brewers starters are throwing the ball right now, would 3-run, and when I say the starters, I'm really kind of focusing on the big three. And although, Wade Miley, you could put him in that conversation if you like to, but when we get to the postseason, staffs shorten up a little bit. Would 3 runs per game for the Crew be enough to make a deep run in the postseason, beating teams like the Braves and the Dodgers? So far, very early results, but 60% of you saying yes, that would be enough. And I did not put, well, I guess I did yesterday, but the other question I kind of have, and I want to hear from you, Bruce fans. How do you view David Stern's legacy with the Brewers? Positive, negative, neutral? What do you got? A couple texts here this morning already, getting things going here. G-Man. Way to go, Brewers. And Stearns helped the Brewers to get where they are now, and it was one of the best places he came to. P.S. 3 runs is good enough for the Brewers. 3 runs will work. Yes, sir. Go, Pack, go. C-Bomb also chiming in. 3 runs per game, and the Crew are winning the World Series. Also, if a Rogers injury was going to happen, best to have 4 plays in than week 10. Full season for Wilson to lose them a game or three for draft position. High to mid-second round isn't much worse than the end of the first. I think the worst case scenario for Green Bay, I don't know, maybe for the Jets in kind of an instance too, but worst case scenario for Green Bay would be that Zach Wilson absolutely balls out this year and has a fantastic year and leads the Jets to the postseason and maybe a deep run of the postseason too. Then you're getting a back end second round pick. But then the Jets are left wondering, all right, what do we do with our quarterback situation next offseason? So we'll get to that if that ever happens this year, though, right? We'll get to that if it happens at some point. So, all right, let's begin things here. Talking some Brewers baseball. Quick recap. All right, that poll really jumped up. By the way, online on Twitter, and it went completely in the opposite direction. So no, says a lot of people out there that 3 runs are not enough. Hit me up with a text too. I want to hear some of your reasoning, why you believe so, why you don't believe so here either too. So, I'll get you my answer towards the back end of the hour. Okay. Brew Crew picking up the W last night. They're 81st on the season. Freddie Peralta was magnificent again after giving up an early home run in the first inning. Quieted down, only giving up 2 total hits. Bullpen didn't give up any hits. Devin Williams picking up his 33rd save of the season. Brewers tacking on 3 runs. Donaldson, newcomer, picking up his first home run with the Crew. That's exactly what the Brewers want to see, is that power. Boy, was that a shot last night too. But Donaldson also getting on base a couple times, couple hits, also a couple walks for him. So, it's an incredibly small sample size here, but in just 2 games with the Brewers, he's collected 3 walks and 3 hits in, is it 6 total 6 credit at bats. I know he's struck out one time on there too. So I mean, in a couple games, 2 games worth, he's getting on base and such. So I mean, got that going for him. But let's see it on a consistent rate, right? So, but nonetheless, last night too, Mark Canha leaving the game early, left wrist soreness. Hopefully not a long-term issue. Sounds like Christian Yelich isn't a long-term issue either. And maybe honestly too, with that back issue with Christian Yelich, maybe coming at a good time because at the plate offensively, guy has been struggling a little bit. Hasn't necessarily been putting up the numbers that he was earlier in the season. So maybe this little break, maybe this little rest will do more than just help his back. Maybe it will actually help him, regain some focus and get back to producing at the plate. Kind of maybe a little similar to when the Brewers sat Willie Adames for a couple games and then he kind of turned the corner a little bit. Possibly, maybe that's that's the optimistic approach to this thing, right? So, but we'll see. We'll see when we get there. But the Brewers have a chance to win these series, at least, uh, you know, guarantee a win of this series if they pick up this W tonight. Series finale will be tomorrow in a day game, but they got Miami again coming up next week in Miami too. So this won't be the last time they're going to be going up against the Marlins here. But what else? What else can we say about these top three starting pitchers for the Brewers that already hasn't been set, especially in these last three games? I mean, lights out, fantastic, incredible, whatever words that we want to use probably wouldn't do it any justice. And we know they are probably them and the way the bullpen has been performing. I know it's been up and down at times, but more times this season it's been up. But when you factor in how well these starters have been going and the bullpen and such, this is the reason why the Brewers are in this position, right? And it's the reason why some national peeps out there and such believe the Brewers could be a tough out when it comes to October is because of the pitch. Bob Nightingale covers Major League Baseball. He had tweeted out in the middle of the night last night, who wants to play the Brewers in the postseason? Anyone? Anyone? Their top three starters in the last three starts, Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff, Freddie Peralta, 23 and a third innings, 8 hits, 1 run, 23 strikeouts, a .39 ERA. Now, yes, that is just 3 games, the last 3 games, but we talk about momentum heading into the postseason. And I think we talk a lot about momentum, in terms of an offensive standpoint. Our teams, riding the momentum with their offense heading into the postseason. But what about momentum when it comes to a pitching staff? Because right now the Brewers have that. They got the momentum when it comes to their pitching staff, especially their top 3 starters. Hopefully this is something that can continue. 18 more games is it left to go here? So those guys probably have a couple more starts before they get to the postseason here. Ideally, maybe you'd like to clinch a little bit earlier. Maybe you can set your rotations and maybe give the guys, like a Corbin and a Freddie who've pretty much pitched all season long. Maybe you give them an off day here or there, maybe or some light work in that. But right now it still could be that goes into that final week of the season, or maybe too you don't want them to clinch too early because you want them to keep riding that momentum into the postseason. When we talk about that, I think in every type of sport, do you want teams to clinch early and then, rest and then get in the postseason, or kind of keep that momentum and that wave going into it, finishing up the season on a high note, strong note, and still riding that into the postseason. So, I mean, it's still early to be talking about that with the Brewers because their magic number is 14. I mean, that's still pretty high at this point. It's not like in the single digits where we can start to really count down at this point. But momentum wise, this staff, these starters, this bullpen for the most part, and you got the youngster Uribe, who's for a young guy, a rookie, and the amount of heat that he brings, but how well he has pitched has been a huge bright spot too. You got to feel confident about this pitching staff going in here, right? Got to be really confident. Possibly 3 in a row, National League Pitchers of the Month. Corbin was in July. Freddie was in August. Maybe Brandon Woodruff in September. I mean, you're looking at the numbers, with Freddie Peralta, he's gotten 3 starts in September so far here, and 2.55 ERA. Let me do a quick update here on the poll question here because it's been jumping up and down here. Okay, it's not up right now, but I got a couple of texts to get to here. This is from Ben. I think 3 runs per game would be enough for the way that the starters have been performing. But if it was a team against like Atlanta, I could see it potentially going the full on 7. I would agree with you, Ben. I mean, Atlanta's offense is so flipping hot, especially Olsen. I mean, 51st home run right now. But I agree. I think 3 runs per game would be tight. It would be a series that I think would go the full on 7 on there because Atlanta's just so dang good, top to bottom with that offense. I mean, it's lights out. And I know too when it comes to starting pitchers or pitchers in general, it's hard to forecast sometimes. I mean, we know just might not be their day. Whether it's the control, whether the velocity's down a little bit, it's hard to forecast that. Ideally, you would like to know, like, okay, your ace is on the mound. That's going to be a win almost every single time. More times than not, it is. But once in a while, that game pops up. You hope it's not in the playoffs, but it happens. But yeah, if it's, I'll tell you right now, I don't know if 3 runs per game would be enough going up against Atlanta with that offense. Ooh, it'd be tight. It'd be really tight. That's just because they're so dang good. So dang good. Dodgers, and I know Dodgers, I mean, Freeman's hitting really well right now, too. And obviously, you got Mookie over there, too. I almost feel like 3 would be good enough against the Dodgers, but I don't know against the Braves. Don't know against the Braves. It's almost like split to me. That's kind of where my head's at right now. Yeah, 69%, 69.2% to be exact, saying no, 3 runs, not enough. So people on Twitter, not buying the 3 runs. People on the texting line, buying the 3 runs. Because Greg also said, I think 3 runs per game, if the Brewers were guaranteed 3 runs per game in the postseason, with the way the starting staff and the bullpen have been pitching, I think that would be enough for them to get to the World Series. This is also from Travis. It would be tight, but I think 3 runs could get them to the series. This pitching staff has been absolutely dominant. So we got texters saying yes. Twitter Xers saying, no. What do you got? Let's keep the conversation going, all right? Okay, let's take a quick break here. The other part of this Brewers conversation I want to ask, I really want to hear from you Brewers fans. How do you view David Stern's legacy? Worst kept secret, the least surprising news yesterday, he's going to the Mets. After the season's done, he's going to the Mets. So looking back at his tenure as the main man building this Brewers team, do you give him a lot of credit for maybe making the Brewers can we call them a perennial playoff contending team? Do you give him credit? Yep, did that, but still didn't do enough to get over the hump. And I know the hater trade's going to be, a thorn for so many Brewers fans for a while now. But overall, the bigger picture, the I should say the complete picture. How do you kind of grade or assess David Stern's tenure? Let me know. Hit me up with some text, okay? We got a few on there. We'll hit that up, but I want some more. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Already going to finish up the first hour. All right. Are you ready to discover a hidden treasure trove of home improvement wonders while giving back to your community? Look no further than Chippewa Valley Habitat for Humanity Restore. At the Restore, you'll find an ever changing selection of quality furniture, appliances, building materials, and so much more, all at unbeatable prices. But here's the best part: every purchase you make at the Restore supports their mission to build affordable homes for families in need right here in the Chippewa Valley. It's shopping with a purpose, making your house a home while making dreams come true for others. So, whether you're looking for a stylish new piece for your living room or tackling a DIY project, make the Restore your first stop. Chippewa Valley Habitat for Humanity Restore, where every item tells a story and every purchase builds a brighter future. So, get shopping at the Restore now. Well, when they open up, located at 145 North Claremont Avenue in Eau Claire. All right. Let's finish up the first hour. Big Worm with the text. Morning, Dan. At what point are you going to feel comfortable with the Brewers' lead in the NL Central? Let's go. So we were looking at the Cubs' schedule yesterday. So they got the Diamondbacks coming up after their series against the Rockies, and at least the Diamondbacks are a team that's trying to get a wild card spot here. But the interesting timing here. So after the Diamondbacks, that's going to be on the road, and that's this weekend. Then they got 3 games against the Pirates. Then they got the Rockies again at home. The series that's making me kind of scratch my head is actually the series that the Cubs play before they wrap up with the Brewers, and that's 3 games against the Braves. And kind of talking about, just in the prior segment about resting players, setting rotations so it lines up how you want it in the postseason and such. How much will the Braves, kind of look at that series and really try to, go all in sort of thing. With all that being said, I think I would feel comfortable if the Brewers were up 5 heading into next weekend. 5 heading into next weekend, early part of next week. That's probably where I would feel comfortable. Brewers at least finish up their season all at home, where Brewers have a better home record that they're on, right? Have a better record at home than they do on the road here. So I feel comfortable in that, knowing that the Brewers are going to have their final 6 games at AmFam Field. I think is a big boost for the crew there. The Cubbies, they'll be on the road, and I know the whole joke about Wrigley North, Cubs just going up north there a little bit. But just kind of looking at home and away records here. Brewers 42-28 at home, 39-35 on the road. Cubbies 41-34 at home, 37-34 on the road. Interesting number here. Brewers are 44-40 against teams with a 500 or better record. Cubs right now have a losing record, 39-43 against teams who are 500 and better. Just kind of looking at some of the potential playoff teams right now in the National League and their records against teams with against teams who have a 500 or better record. Only the Brewers, the Braves, and the Dodgers have winning records against teams who have a 500 or better record. Dodgers are 44-37. Now, this is just National League. Dodgers are 44-37 against teams who have a 500 or better record. Braves are 52-29. And then, as we mentioned, the Brewers are 44-40. San Francisco's got a 500 record. They're 41-41. But other teams kind of in this wild card spot, playoff hunt. Phillies 43-45. Miami's 36-47. Cincinnati's 42-47. I mentioned Arizona 35-47. So, Brewers are one of only 3 in the National League with a winning record against teams over 500. Take it for what it's worth. The David Stearns question that I threw out there, for me, I look at, David Stearns Yeah, we were close a couple times, but I look at what he did for this organization. Something that I never experienced in my lifetime. And I know I'm maybe a little bit younger than a lot of you right now, but looking at where the Brewers made the postseason, what was it, 4 years in a row? They're going to go back this year. They were a game out of it last year. And I know big reason probably why they didn't get into it last year was because of the trade he made with Hader. But you're talking about a team that is always now in the last how many years in the conversation of getting to the postseason. David Stearns was a big reason because of that. We've got a ball club, a baseball team that we're talking about, playoff aspirations every single year to the point where, okay, great that we made the postseason, but now the expectations have changed. Now the goals have changed to where we want more. I remember as a kid, it was like, yeah, Brewers playoffs, please. No thank. Well, we love it, but it ain't happening. We would have been just happy to get to the postseason. I still remember 2008 in college celebrating that they got to the postseason and was like, oh, yeah, they still got to play in the postseason. We were just happy to be there. That's changed now. And David Stearns has been a big reason because of that. He's kind of changed that narrative. He's changed that expectation, set the bar up a little bit more, a little bit higher. Now we want a World Series. Now we kind of expect a World Series where it wasn't that long ago. It was just like, I don't really have those expectations right now. 2011, maybe there was that kind of expectation and such, but I think you got to give David Stearns a lot of credit for the job he did with the Brewers and kind of setting that bar. And hopefully Matt Arnold as general manager can continue to raise it. And I know the wild card in this whole thing too is the ownership group with Mark Anastasio and how much they're willing to spend and build and freedom to build the roster and all that. That's a wild card and everything when it comes to baseball. And it'll be interesting to follow David Stearns with the Mets, knowing he's going to have a bigger payroll. Does his philosophy, does his style of building a team change a little bit? Not really. Because I'm assuming he's, like, hey, I got a bigger checkbook now. My checking account's going to be a little bit bigger here. Or does he still go with the core of the analytics and such? That's not to say he was like, all minor league guys in that too. Look at the moves he did make with Yelich and Kane and that. So running into stuff. Morgan, good morning.
I'm the world's worst. Like, I could never creep up on anybody. Here's something I've realized about myself over the years. The quieter I try to be, the louder it ends up. Like, if everyone's sleeping in the house in the morning, apparently every pot and pan in the house wants to tumble off the shelf on accident.
Or maybe it's a ghost.
That's my life. I'm telling you. I have completely incapable of being quiet.
Nice.
I was trying to make a quiet entrance, but
that didn't work.
No, not at all. No. So now that it's kind of officially NFL season, do you have a hard time turning your attention back to baseball like this, or do you kind of like having a foot in both?
I like having a foot in both. It makes it easier when your team's in the postseason, though. If the Brewers if they sucked.
Right.
And they were awful.
And then we've been there. Yeah.
If they were awful and they sucked, nobody would be paying attention anymore.
Now, you don't think that's being a fickle fan? You think that's just, of course, a human nature, obviously.
Human nature.
If they're doing well, you're interested.
You only got a couple weeks left of the regular season. If they're not in the postseason, you got a new season starting in a different sport. I think it's natural to change your attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where would you say the split of your friends is Brewers to Packers right now?
Oh, it's more towards Packers.
Yeah.
It don't matter.
Do you have a hardcore baseball fan that holds out and is definitely the baseball supersedes football even when the pack's underway?
I wouldn't say like a personal friend of mine, but I know we got some that are still,
hardcore baseball.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Wednesday wild card going to take us away from the diamond and the field. We get to fire some rapid roulette questions at you, share with the class. Let's see. What are our numbers today? 1 through 27. Let's spin the wheel, Kasper. What do you got?
Let's go 2.
All right, 2. What was your favorite age growing up?
Probably like 12 or 13.
You're kidding me.
No, because it kind of goes back to the question about like what grade was your favorite. I love 7th and 8th grade.
That's what I'm dealing with right now. Siggy's just tipping into middle school. Middle school's a trip,
and I know I'm in the minority, but I love 7th and 8th grade.
You felt like that's when you really had a handle on things. It wasn't as complicated as the high school level, that kind of thing.
No, I loved it.
All right, you're the guy. Let's go 1 through 27. Go.
21.
21. What instantly calms you down?
My dog.
Right?
Mhm.
Dogs are good for that.
Yep.
So Bacardi's got the ticket?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
1 through 27. Good.
23.
All right. Do you have a favorite holiday? Why or why
Christmas.
not? Okay, that's everybody's first answer.
Yeah.
So I'm taking Christmas off the mix. Everyone's like Christmas.
So,
Nope.
okay, I like Halloween, not because of trick or treating, but I'm a big horror movie, scary stuff sort of thing.
Yeah, you're alone in
So,
that. Have you
probably
seen,
that.
though, there are some hardcore Halloween people. I feel like Halloween's creeping up on Christmas in popularity. There are some people
Yeah.
that already are into the decorations, have
Yep.
the theme going, and live kind of that Halloween vibe for
Yeah.
all of September and into October.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Now, is your wife on board with that? Is she a scary movie Halloween person too?
Yes. She's
No.
all in fall and all that stuff too. So,
What about
yep.
Hutsy?
No,
Okay.
he's not.
It-
He likes Halloween decorations.
Scary ones or
yes,
fun ones like Peanuts?
like the big,
skeletons.
yeah, he loves those, but he hates scary movies or shows.
Bingo.
Last night, he had me take off Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles off his tablet because it was too scary.
I'm with him. I'm 100% with him.
Yeah.
It's the joke of parenting because I can't stand anything scarier than Charlie Brown's Peanuts, like
Yeah.
when they go out into, the Great Pumpkin.
Well,
And Siggy wants it bloody and gory and chainsaws and everything else.
He cried at Beethoven, the beginning of, or not Beethoven, Clifford, the dog movie.
Yes. I'm
cried.
with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Second hour kicking off on this Wednesday morning, September 13th. Appreciate you all tuning in wherever, however you may be tuning in. Coming up, we'll get back to some more baseball talk here as well. We'll get you an update on our poll question on Twitter. Talk a little David Stearns and his Brewers legacy tenure as the main man in charge of building this team. How do you view it? Let us know. Hit us up with some texts at 715-830-1912. We're going to throw in some hoops talk here. Giannis going to be working out with former NBA great. We know that at one point he worked out with Kobe, worked out with Kevin Garnett. Now apparently he's going to be working out with the Dream himself, Akeem Olajuwon. So, but we'll talk a little. I want to throw a little Bucks chat in here to kind of go over some of the comments he's made recently about his goals and hopefully Milwaukee's goals, and what Adrian Griffin, the new head coach for the Bucks, said recently too about his relationship with the Greek Freak. First, let's kick off this hour with some sports nuggets of the day, brought to you by Ansay Associates. 1932, Joe McCarthy became the first manager to win pennants in both baseball leagues when his New York Yankees clinched the American League pennant. 1946, Ted Williams hit his only inside the park home run. 1949, the LPGA was formed, Ladies Professional Golf Association of America. 1965, Willie Mays became the fifth player in Major League history to hit 500 career home runs. 1971, Frank Robinson hit his 500th career home run. Let's go with 1996, Alex Rodriguez, when he was with the Mariners, set a team record when he became the first player for the Mariners to reach 200 hits in a season. 1996, Charlie O'Brien with the Toronto Blue Jays became the first catcher in Major League Baseball history to wear a hockey goalie-like catcher's mask. The game was against the Yankees. I think that's all about it. Yeah, that's about it. Those are some of your sports nuggets of the day. Again, brought to you by our friends Ansay Associates. Quick update on the Twitter poll out there. We threw out with how well the Brewers starters are throwing the ball right now. That's Freddie Peralta. That's Brandon Woodruff. That's Corbin Burns. Would 3 runs per game, if the Brewers were spotted 3 runs heading into the postseason, 3 runs per game, they were spotted 3 runs, would that be enough to make a deep run in the postseason and beating teams like the Braves and the Dodgers? Everybody who has texted in, I shouldn't say everybody, but a majority of everybody who's texted in has said yes, but Twitter is the opposite. Right now, Twitter is 66.7% saying no. I would say it's probably about 75 to 80 in terms of texters saying yes, it would be. So maybe we call it 50-50 at this point. I don't know. But what say you, Luke?
Not for the Braves. Maybe LA, but the pitching would have to be about perfect. So I'd say no. But it's close. I know you have every so often have a team that goes kaput from their specialty in the playoffs. And so does that mean that this is when the Braves suddenly stop hitting home runs and stop everything offensively? Maybe, but you're kind of banking on that quirk happening in that one series. So no, not Atlanta, maybe LA. So that's a broad way of saying I don't think so, but it is close to what they need. If you told me 4 runs, I could buy the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
But 3, that's I'm so wary of what Betts and Freeman can do. I don't like that.
Not even against Woodruff and Stearns or Peralta and Burns.
I know that's where I think it's possible. I don't know if over the course
they
of
began the game top of the first, Brewers are already up 3-0, and you're throwing out those pitchers each game, and the bullpen too.
Okay, now if we're so we're spotting them.
We're spotting them 3. Yep.
So they could ultimately get to like 8 or something like that
if you wanted to. I guess.
They could eventually. They could score more runs in the game. I still don't think it happens with Atlanta.
Olsen is on such a tear for Atlanta right now. It's flipping ridiculous.
No, they're all good. That the team is good.
I feel like in either one of those series, it would go like 6-7, like the full length. If that 3 runs, you spot the 3 runs sort of thing.
Now they'd be. I don't know the exact magic numbers, but I think the Brewers could only play the Dodgers in the National League Division Series at this point.
At this point.
So that would be a 5-game series. So I get it's a bit of an odd way of going about it, but I suppose the question also involves that. If you spotted them 3 runs, could they beat the Dodgers in a 5-game series?
I think so.
Or could they beat the Braves in a 7-game series?
I think I'm with you. I said I feel like they could do it against the Dodgers. The Braves, I don't know if that would be enough.
Over the course of 7 games, you'd have to win 4. Like their bats could just shut down. We've seen that happen. Okay, now that I'm thinking about it again with the spotting aspect of it, I just had to conceive of that. I think they could with the Dodgers. I think so. I think so. It would be a 5-game series for sure.
Yeah,
but not Atlanta. The one oddity of this postseason. We don't know. It's going to be the pitch clock and some of the other assorted rules. How is that going to change the dynamics of some of these games? Do you see certain teams go on runs? Do you see certain teams shut down? Probably, but maybe not as much. And then that I don't know. That's where I think people are anticipating, like, not that I've seen predictions that Atlanta's not going to go on a run, but the idea that, well, maybe the Braves going to be like the other year where they were so good. And then maybe, but is that always going to happen? Probably not. The Braves seem like they're due for a big run. Yeah. So yeah, I'm back to that. Braves, maybe Dodgers.
You know what? For the longest time in this season, one statistic that people kept bringing up was run differentials. Brewers have the 6th most now in the National League.
That is crazy.
Right? Here's the thing, though. There's only 6 teams in the National League that have positive run differentials right now.
It is skewed to the American League this year.
Yeah. Brewers are plus 50 right now. The highest, of course, is the Braves. Then Braves are at 239. Dodgers 178. Then it's the Cubs 97. Padres are still plus 55, and then the Brewers are plus 50. Everybody else is in the negatives. San Francisco would be the next closest at -8. Whereas the AL East, you have 4 teams alone with positive run differentials.
Right. Well, and also, usually run differential takes care of itself. But there are a couple teams every so often, and like in this case, the Cubs, where I think run differential doesn't entirely tell their story because they've had a couple like really big wins. Again, you take away that one massive win over the Brewers, and suddenly you're down to probably plus 87 to plus 60 and a little bit more. And next thing you know, the Cubs and Brewers are almost even because the Cubs have had a lot of blowout wins. But then they're also, but the record speaks for that. That's where run differential doesn't tell the entire story, because if that were the case, between run differential and ERA, then the Padres would be definitely a playoff team. And they definitely are not. But that's because there's just something odd with that team. Yeah, there's definitely an imbalance. I've seen the Twins are up at plus 72 now. They're actually tied with the Blue Jays for a potential playoff team that is in the same ballpark of run differential. Hey, but
the other number we talked about in the first hour too is records above or records against teams with 500 or better records. Brewers, and if you look at it in terms of the National League, it's just the Atlanta Braves, the Dodgers, and the Brewers with winning records against teams with 500 or better. The next closest was it Philly? No, it was the Giants, who are at 500 right now, 41 and 41.
Without having stats in front of me, that does seem like a fairly durable stat, that those sorts of teams do tend to then perform well in the playoffs. At least that's what I've seen across sports. You see that in the NBA, the whole like, hey, are you playing up to your competition? Do you play down to your competition? Remember, we talked about that with the Bucks for the longest time. I think bodes well for the Brewers.
Yeah, in fact, if we add the National or the American League on here, there's only two teams in the American League with winning records. against teams against 500. Baltimore's 53-39. Tampa Bay is 52-40. Otherwise, Houston, who's leading their division, is 40-43. And then you've got Minnesota 37-39. Texas is 39-42. Seattle's 36-42. Toronto's 41-48. In fact, Boston's actually 46-46. Interesting.
Yeah. But there are a lot of those are going to end up playing each other, so I think that washes out. But then I think that washes out in the National League too, because you would expect that the really good teams are going to perform well even against other good teams because you get a winning record. You're going to have to. You can't have a big losing record as part of a big winning record. You know what I mean? But like percentage wise. So I guess that bodes well for the Brewers, except that the other teams that also tend to do well against really good teams are the ones that they'd be likely to play in the division series and the championship series. It'd be good when they get to if they get to the World Series, but problem is you got to get through those first two steps, barring flukes in the first two rounds of the playoffs that somehow managed to knock off LA and Atlanta. And I don't see that happen. Maybe one of them, but not both.
To answer your question, Mike, no, the Brewers do not get compensation because Stearns is in a role with the Brewers. Stearns starts the new job after the regular season, which he is no longer under contract. So, no, Brewers do not get any compensation.
Back to the prior one, though. So ponder this. Let's see, because the Brewers would, because so if the Brewers were able to beat the Dodgers, and let's say the Phillies beat the Braves, let's just say the Phillies are the 3 seed. I know it's getting close with Chicago, but let's say the Phillies beat the Braves. Would you then say the Brewers could? Do you feel comfortable enough to say that they would be a World Series favorite, given their performance against good teams, if they only have to go through the Dodgers? If their next opponents would be the Phillies or the Cubs in the NLCS, and then take your pick of any American League team, that performance against teams with winning records, what is your confidence level that they win the World Series if they can get past the Dodgers, if they don't have the Braves on their path?
It's actually, I don't know. I feel pretty good. As long as those starters continue that momentum heading into the postseason. And I think a huge wild card in this too is, remember, Brandon Woodruff missed 4 months. He's fresh. You know what I mean? Like he's fresher than a lot of these other dudes. And he is pitching at an incredibly high level to the point where the Brewers might have 3 in a row pitchers of the month in the National League. Corbin was July. Freddie was August. Woodruff's on his way to be September's National League Pitcher of the Month. So, yeah, Baltimore, Baltimore would still kind of worry me here a little bit too. Just because they ain't going away, and I'm looking at like home and away records with this, and Baltimore's pretty darn consistent. In fact, they're a little bit better on the road. 48 wins on the road compared to 43 at home. But, they've already taken care of Texas. Yeah, honestly, I think I'd feel pretty good, to be honest with you.
Given the caliber of competition in the American League, and I'm probably paying a little bit more attention because of trying to game out twin scenarios and stuff like that, obviously. Yeah, I think they could do it.
So if the Brewers get to the World Series, would you pick them regardless of who they play from the American League? Would you pick them to win?
Without understanding, because this would be the one wild card, is how a certain team is performing in the playoffs. Maybe,
well, obviously they're doing well if they're in the World Series,
right? But like maybe the Mariners are going on some incredible run, and Julio Rodriguez is hitting like 2 home runs a game, or something ridiculous like that is happening. Where you go, oh, okay. But then we've seen those teams stop their momentum at the World Series. The 07 Rockies are the classic example of that. Rocktober, and then they get to the World Series, and wow, that train stopped really fast. But at first blush, the only team where without knowing anything of what happens in October, where I would pick them over the Brewers is the Astros because of their postseason experience. It's part of the reason why I've seen the Twins better not draw the Astros in the 3-game series, because that's probably going to be another Houston sweep. Even with the first 2 games at Target Field, if the Astros fell down to the 6th seed, which right now they're the division leader, so right now it's a moot point, but they're not that far from the 6th seed because of how bunched up those teams are in the American League right now. The postseason experience of the Astros is such, and the overall talent is such. I would pick Houston over Milwaukee. I don't know that I would immediately pick any other American League team over Milwaukee. If Milwaukee's gotten that far, you're right. A lot of it then has got to be based on really good pitching and an offense that's actually coming along. My only wariness would be that we have like the Braves Brewers series from a couple years ago or a couple years ago, and Operation Shutdown kicks in. And Corbin Burns has gone through 8 innings that in a 0-0 game again. And that worries me.
To be fair, though, too, Garrett Cole is probably going to win a Cy Young, and he was pitching on the other side, too. So that was the other part in that, too. But, yeah, one dang run would have made a difference. But still, Yeah. As Bob Nightingale said, though, too, he tweeted out overnight, who in the playoffs wants to play the Brewers right now, and he went through the stats of Freddie Peralta, Brandon Woodruff, and Corbin Burns. So
it's not. Yeah, I don't think too many people would want to.
No,
at this point,
just stay healthy, guys. That's all. Just stay healthy.
Kind of an important thing. But I think they can do it. It's like
that's where I know people will criticize Counsell for taking guys out too early. That's where I actually have confidence in Craig Counsell that he's going to try his best and make sure he's not going to overdo it with his starters right now.
Has he had a bad track record? And we're trying to do the totality here. Has he had a bad track record of playoff moves? What is his most criticized moments? Or does he?
In the playoffs or just in general?
In the playoffs.
I guess I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm not immediately thinking of oh gosh, Counsell screwed that up on a high profile stage. I have a fair amount of faith in him being able to pull that off. And then you get into managerial questions like Counsell versus Roberts, Counsell versus Snitker, Counsell versus Thompson, Counsell versus, we can get to the World Series, Baker. I would take Counsell in a lot of those cases, maybe not definitively so in all, but like if it's Counsell versus Baldelli, sorry, I'm definitely taking as much as I would love to take the Twins, I'm taking Greg Counsell in that one easily. Counsell, the all-Wisconsin one, hey, it's in play. Mariners, Brewers, Service versus Counsell. That's a tasty one. But I would trust that he would make the right moves.
Yeah. I almost feel like Counsell's actually grown a little bit this year. I don't know.
He doesn't seem to have made too many, if any, like, what are you doing kind of moves.
And it's the usual ones I think you hear from a lot of fans is like, you should have bunted in that situation, or, it's that stuff, which I'm sure every fan base has with their manager, right? At some point, not I don't know of any manager or any fan base that has 100% praised every decision their coach or manager has made. I don't know that. We hyper focus that because it's on, this area and such, but I don't know. I feel like, and that narrative, you ask everybody across Major League Baseball, we talked about it, but now with the whole Mets situation and such, he's widely viewed as maybe the best in baseball right now, or at least top 5 for sure.
Yeah.
Managers in Major League Baseball.
For sure.
He hits that open market and he says, hey, I want to explore. There's going to be teams that are going to offer him huge cash.
Yes. If that happens, I'm still not convinced of it. I know I keep hearing, we've talked about it before, and I keep hearing about it. Counsell to the Mets. I still don't believe it. I still can't see it happening. I don't. And if it's not that, where else? I don't see that happening.
Unless it's an offer he can't refuse. $12 million a year.
I'm doing the mandolin.
$12 million a year.
Jeez. Cohen might actually do that.
That's the thing.
But New York over your home? Really?
Well,
and I guess
we don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's thing.
We never know. We assume, but we never know.
But no, we don't. You're right. So maybe it happens. I still don't think it does.
I don't think if I were a betting person, I don't put it on there, but you never know. So
before we take a break, what's your stress level now that Stearns officially is to the Mets? Your stress level that Craig Counsell is for sure the next manager of the New York Mets.
I'm honestly
scale of 1 to 10.
2.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
I would say
from all accounts, and again, I know it's from all accounts, and it could be PR stuff. Counsel and Arnold have said the same thing. It sounds like they're even closer than what Stearns and Counsel were.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe I think the only way Counsel goes there, I don't know if it necessarily be money. I think it would have to depend on whether he views, if he really, really, really wants a World Series as a manager, what situation does he view as his best shot at that?
Yeah.
If that's like his, and I'm not saying like, he doesn't, that's not his main goal every year, but if like that, he is desperate to win a World Series and he doesn't care where, that would be my only concern. Like, would that make him jump to the Mets?
Yeah. I don't know for sure, but that does make me.
But I'm really curious now to see how David Stearns builds that Mets team. That he has a bigger checkbook, a bigger checking account.
Yeah, that's concerning. I don't know, but I'm at a 3 just because it is Stearns and there's there's just a little bit of uncertainty, but I'm way lower than 10.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'd be annoyed if he did end up going, unless they're and I'm not sure who I'd end up being annoyed at. Because maybe I'd be more annoyed at the Brewers, but if it turns out that it was something on the Brewers end that caused that, but I would be annoyed if he went to the Mets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. We got to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Let's talk some hoops. Don't forget to make your picks for week 2 of our Pro Football Pick'em Challenge. Just visit our website, sportstalk1051.com. Click on that win tab over there. Got the next game tomorrow. Luke's Vikings taking on the Eagles. Over there. So make sure you get your picks in. Every game might matter at this point in time. We got if you look at the leaderboard, let me bring it up here because I think it's Roland that's still up in first place there with how many picks did he get right? Roland, 13 picks, correct.
Nice.
In first place right now. Tim's in second with 12. Then we got a group of you sitting there at 11 correctly picked games.
I'm gonna make my pick right now, as long as I brought it up here and you know which team I'm picking.
Eagles.
Of course.
Right. Well, I'd hope so. I mean, come on now.
I mean, I'm a Vikings fan.
Is it in Philly?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
Gosh.
For crying out loud. So
I mean, the good thing is at least the Vikings miserable week 2 will be out of the way really early.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my wife's birthday, so I'm not even going to be watching the game. Like that's not the way to spend your wife's birthday. Yeah, I'm going to watch the Vikings get blown out in Philly and watch people do mocking skull chants. Like, oh, that's great.
That's why you are not a true Vikings fan, and you will be a Green Bay fan. So
you know what? I was not feeling that great about the Packers winning on Sunday. No, sorry.
What do you mean?
No, I was like, oh, great. Packers are doing well. Vikings not. I was not that happy about it. No. If you see now, if I really were going to convert, I'd be like, actually,
no, it
wasn't happening.
That's why I question your Vikings fandom, because if you were a fan, you'd still be watching. You don't go out there and freely admit, I'm not watching.
Oh, I'll probably find some way on my phone to.
Oh, no, you're backtracking.
Well,
okay, now here we go.
Now remember, I am the same person that was watching game. I think that would have been game 3 of the World Series at my wedding reception dinner. We had Cubs Indians on, and Murph and I are watching this. And at some point, Murph.
So you are either a Cubs or Cleveland fan?
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
For that one, yes. That's the longest way of saying that. Yes, it turns out closet Cubs fan. Shout out Marty Green. No, actually, Murph's wife had to come over and take away the phone.
Okay.
It was to that degree. Like, nope, you are not watching the World Series during the wedding reception. Stop.
All right. Well,
I did watch Game 7 though. That was the important one anyway. Well, I mean, that's the one you had to watch.
Congrats.
I wasn't not going to watch that game.
Congrats for watching Game 7.
You are welcome.
Yeah.
Sport ball. Love it.
Okay. Well, that's a fault for anybody who schedules weddings during football season or big games or anything like that.
That is a dicey thing.
Yeah, don't do it. Okay?
Well, okay, yeah, like especially okay. Now, if you're going to do it during Game 3 of a given World Series where you're pretty sure your team's not going to get in, okay, fine. If you're going to schedule your wedding on the same day as, let's say, okay, let's go there, Alabama Auburn during the Iron Bowl, you schedule your wedding that Saturday. What the is wrong with you? Like, you are getting in trouble for this. Don't do it. You have 364 other days of the year to schedule that. You have
an
wedding.
Entire summer
right.
to do it. So
do it even in the winter. Do it any other time.
Wait. Why are you talking? Yours was in the fall. You don't be preaching to people.
No, I'm if someone does Alabama Auburn and they're an Alabama or Auburn fan, don't schedule it on the day of the Iron Bowl. Well, heck, don't schedule it for any of those college football Saturdays. You know you're going to get in trouble with a whole lot of people.
Yeah,
it's not a good idea. Avoid sports when you can.
Yeah, we when V and I we purposely, not even preseason. Nope, don't do it. So you factor in. We factor in holiday parties and everything when it comes to football season.
It causes problems.
Not if you set boundaries.
Well, this is true.
We set boundaries. It's like, well, we're not having family get-togethers then. Packer game on? Nope, sorry. Can't do it, won't do it.
Yeah. Super Bowl
boundaries.
Super Bowl is, oh, wait, when is the Valentine's Day Super Bowl?
Who cares?
No, like, I mean, it doesn't really matter for me because both my wife and I are like Valentine's Day a little overrated. You know it's going to be a big deal for a lot of folks. Isn't it like next year or 2 years from now, Valentine's Day and the Super Bowl are on the same day?
Here's my face. Not concerned.
See, we're not concerned. You know this is going to cause problems.
I guarantee a lot of our listeners aren't concerned either. So not concerned.
Well,
not one iota.
See what they think on February 14th, 20, whatever year that is.
No, nobody's worried about that. Nobody's concerned about that.
I can't remember where I read it, and it was something semi-prominent that was like, this is going to be a bigger deal than you think.
No. Nope. Not one. Guarantee it.
What year? 2027.
No. Nobody gives a rip.
Sure about that?
Super Bowl Sunday is more important than Valentine's Day, a fake holiday, that overpriced flowers and all that stuff. So.
I'm totally with you on that. Valentine's Day is basically, I mean, yes, I know there is a it goes St. Valentine's. It's a card company holiday.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you see, I'm very squarely in the category of if you don't do something on Valentine's Day does not mean you're a horrible person. It just means that you didn't go by what corporate America decided you had to do to prove that you actually love somebody. I don't care what.
The first mistake in any new marriage, as you're getting ready to get married or start a relationship or whatever, is to schedule the wedding day on a big game day or anything like that, because you've already lost the battle. You can't, from that day forward, you can't come up with a reason why you're missing a get together. You're not going to get permission to go to a game if there's something else going on. You got to set those boundaries right away.
Yeah.
And it's an understanding in the Kasper household. We don't schedule anything around Packers games. Nothing
has ever, in all the years you've been married, nothing has happened.
The only thing, and it's something I can't control unless I get fired, is a work thing.
Of course.
That's the only thing.
Or GM, it's kind of a little bit more like sorry.
Well, and I got yelled at last year at a work event when I was watching it on my phone. So
that's the perils of watching something on your phone at events, as we all know.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. My job, though. You know what I mean? So
that's
doing my job. So,
but
no. Yeah, if family get-togethers, Christmas, whatever, it's the first thing is like, okay, is there a game? Not a game, then we can talk. If there's a game, end of conversation.
So to segue to NBA and the Bucks, would you look ahead to the NBA Finals dates and already block them out for June of 2024?
That's okay. Well,
wait, what year are we in? 2023. Well, June of 2023.
Lucky, a lot of those games actually are during 24. The week or like on a Sunday. So
I'm bad with years right now. 24, you know what I mean? Yeah. But yeah, but it's summer and stuff is happening like all the time.
But again, like a lot of that stuff is during the week. A lot of those games are during the week.
That's true.
That's
true. So,
well, I'm feeling confident in that.
Well, hey, Giannis is already complaining that if they don't do it this year, and so maybe it'll be a moot point when he inevitably becomes Los Angeles.
You know, Lakers. I think if anybody doesn't remember from a couple weeks ago what he told the New York Times, talking about extension, he said next summer it would make more sense for both parties. Even then, I don't know. I would not be the best version of myself if I don't know that everybody's on the same page. Everybody's going for a championship. Everybody's going to sacrifice time away from their family like I do. And if I don't feel that, I'm not signing. I know that got a lot of pub in that. But here's the thing. I'm not really concerned about it. Because, and Adrian Griffin was just asked about it yesterday or was it a couple days ago or something like that. I'm not really concerned about it because I think the Bucks have proven in the last few years, as long as Giannis is on the roster, they're aggressive in trying to build around him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not really concerned that they're just like, okay, we got Giannis and we're going to stand pat with a lot of moves and that sort of thing. I'm not really that concerned about it, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not concerned that the Bucks are not going to prove to him, or they're not going to be aggressive in building a roster within their means. And what I mean by that is money, that they're not going to have talent around him. So I'm not that concerned right now. I'm more concerned about Craig Counsell not managing than I am about Giannis not being with the Bucks in the next couple of years.
Wow. Well, and I guess, okay, but not to go back to the Brewers again, just Counsell not managing, not Counsell being a manager of another team.
I'm more concerned about Counsell not being with the Brewers as a manager than I am about Giannis not being with the Bucks in the next couple of years.
But okay? Were you more concerned about Counsell being manager of another team than you are about Giannis leaving the Bucks and not signing?
I'm just saying in general, Counsell not managing.
Okay.
If Counsell is part of the Brewers in the front office, great, yippee, whoopoo. He's a better manager. Right. I want him as a manager.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's over. The whole Giannis is gone thing is overrated. It's a desire to create drama. It's a desire and from media, not from Giannis. But I mean, now Giannis had that thing that he said, and Paul Henning flagged this in that Zoom that he did or whatever it was, where he said like, "Hey, we have a drought for the last 2 years." And as Paul Henning said, "Well, why do you think that was? It wasn't because the Bucks sucked. It's because Giannis, you were hurt. That wasn't part of the reason why. Part of it was Chris Middleton getting hurt.
Right.
Now,
and I know Giannis said the other day too, he's tired of talking about Game 6. He wants to make new memories and all that. And I just think it's a mindset. I don't necessarily think he's calling out the Bucks or anything like that. I think it's just his mindset. Like, hey, I want to win another one. And I don't have a problem with that.
Well, and let's rewind back to our general assessment of what Giannis Antetokounmpo says. He says straight up what he's thinking. This is that I don't think he's the I'm going to throw this out there to throw these guys off and doing the mind game sort of thing. That's not how Giannis operates. If anything, he's too honest. And maybe that's to a fault. Maybe he shouldn't be saying that sort of stuff, but that's why we hear what he does, but we have to look at that differently. And maybe it's tough because I think a lot of players say things in an intentionally passive aggressive way. I don't know Giannis. None of us know Giannis that are listening to the show right now. So we don't know for sure. And maybe he is doing the same thing, like a Joel Embiid, someone who, not saying Embiid's bad or anything, but he's probably one of the best examples of passive aggressive talk, or a Kevin Durant.
The champion at passive aggressive is Aaron Rodgers. So I mean,
yes, okay, Aaron Rodgers. There you go. In the broadest sense, I'm not. Maybe Giannis is doing the same thing, but the track record doesn't show that. So I don't think that's it at all. And look, I think he thinks he could probably win a title every single year.
I do wonder, and this is going back to, I don't know if you saw this from a couple days ago. Serge Ibaka was on, I think, on a podcast, and he actually talked about his tenure with the Bucks and Mike Budenholzer. And it kind of, I think if you start to connect some dots, might be related to what happened with the Jay Crowder situation last year. Like Ibaka, was apparently, I'm paraphrasing, but told, going to get playing time. That's why he came back to the Bucks and all, and then he wasn't. And then he asked about it, kind of went to management or something like that. And he pretty much said like, Budenholzer was stop talking to him, stop communicating with him. And that's why Ibaka, remember last year they were trying to find a trade partner and all that for him to leave. Like he pretty much called out Budenholzer. And then you kind of start to connect some dots. And because I think we were all wondering what the heck happened with the Jay Crowder thing last year where he wasn't playing.
Yeah.
You spend all those draft picks to acquire him and he's not playing. Budenholzer's fired and guess who's back? Jay Crowder. So I don't know. Maybe there was, I think it's clearly evident there was something going on, and maybe Giannis too wasn't a big Budenholzer fan either. I don't know.
He seemed to be pretty loyal to Bud, though.
He did. Well, he was also loyal to Jason Kidd. So
yeah, that's true. Because
I think Giannis could be a player, in a sense, like Aaron Rodgers too, where he is loyal to a fault to some guys.
And that can sometimes be your downfall.
Absolutely.
I mean, look at the Jets right now. Hey, cool. You got a bunch of Packer retreads.
Yep.
Without the quarterback. Like
I loved, not to transition into football here, but I saw this on Twitter. For all the talk, and I'm not saying this was a big reason what happened with Aaron, but for all the talk over the years about weapons for Aaron, right? What's one thing Green Bay always did, though? They always invested in offensive line, right?
Yep.
What did the Jets not do this year? They didn't invest in offensive line. And somebody made a great point on social media. I know it was kind of in jest, but if you think about it, it's like, turns out Green Bay, yes, did in fact invest into weapons for Aaron Rodgers. It was always offensive line.
Right. I mean, that was probably the biggest reason why I was sour on the Jets making the playoffs with Aaron Rodgers. And now 4 snaps. I don't want to quite go so far as to say, yep, see, that's it. 4 snaps is a really small statistical sample, though. I think Bill Barnwell broke it down, and 2 or 3 of those was very clearly the offensive line, but actually the play where he got injured was not really a a clear problem with the way the offensive line was constructed. But the point being, yeah, you can't always go by what that player wants, because that player, if they were that smart, would be your general manager, but they're not. They'd be a general manager / player, like the player coaches, but they're not.
I'd love, and they're doing their job, so I'm not criticizing, but I don't know if you saw some of the stuff from The Athletic yesterday was reporting with the Jets. Because I'm like, oh, timing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Athletic, a couple of the writers, one of them was Diana Rossini, who's just joined them.
Right, yep.
But that Aaron Rodgers did express his disagreement or whatever, that the cut block situation, that he told coaches he was not in favor of all the cut blocks in plays. And what was a big topic in those 4 plays? Cut blocks.
Mm-hmm.
And because Aaron is a guy that does not get rid of the ball quick, and cut blocks are for plays of getting rid of the ball quick, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, wow, we're already at this. A day, not even 24 hours later, Aaron already expressed, his disagreement with cut blocks.
Funny how that was ready to go that fast.
Yeah.
And someone like a Rossini is going to get that info.
And it was even the Jets beat reporter for The Athletic too. So
you're right. That's the point. Like they got that. Either way, it doesn't look good. Either it came out within hours, or this is where I think it's more likely, because this is good reporters like Diana Rossini are going to have this sort of stuff. They had this already along. They're like, well, we'll use this if a situation comes up, and maybe we'll do a notebook dump at the end of the season. Like, Rodgers was concerned about this, but then it turned out not to be a problem. Then it becomes like no big deal. Well, it was ready to go. Maybe that's what happened. So you don't want to have like the stars being like, like in Giannis's case, like I'd still kind of rather they just not be that openly. I say this not in a negative way, critical. Like, don't critique so much, good or bad. Just don't critique as much. Mm-hmm. It's not exactly shut up and play. No, don't not to that degree either. But the passive aggressiveness, right? That not less of that. We don't really see it with Giannis, but I'd rather he not drift into Aaron Rodgers territory. And I really hope that's not what's either the intention that's being covered or is beginning to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I don't know if, I'm sure some people were following after that, not to go back to the Aaron thing too, but the whole cut block thing. Mm-hmm. So David Bakhtiari, obviously he kind of knows Aaron a little bit and played with him for a while.
Yes.
Because so Jeff Schwartz is a former offensive lineman too. He had tweeted, once again, they asked the O-line to cut because it's a quick pass and Rodgers didn't throw it again. To which Bakhtiari responded, that's dumb as blank. If they asked their line to do that, I only ever cut on quick game if Aaron himself told me in the huddle or at the line of scrimmage. So, disagreements between Aaron's favorite coach of all time, Nathaniel Hackett. And
gosh.
Like, I'm already writing the headlines. So.
Boy.
You ready?
Also, I love how David Bakhtiari also drops another obscenity in a quote.
Yeah, right? Exactly. So, I mean, the dude was flipping off people at the Bears game and everything, too. So, he's just, YOLO.
Wow. Yep. Yes, that's the best way to put it. Yep. He is very squarely in YOLO territory. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, how much do you think with weeks, months now removed since it happened, how much do you think Giannis was behind the Griffin hiring? How much of it?
Oh, I think he had probably the biggest influence. I mean, everybody said like he, was a part of it, went to breakfast, dinner, whatever, like he did with Budenholzer. Him and Milton did the same thing with her. I think that was probably the last, nail in the I don't want to say coffin because that sounds so dramatic, but that was like the deciding factor. Okay, that's Giannis's pick. We're hiring him.
So factoring in the Crowder thing with Budenholzer, factoring in Giannis's recent comments, however much we want to just throw everything that we now know now that we're into September. does it seem like Giannis was more influential than we thought at the time, which we figured he was pretty influential? Do we think he was even more influential or less influential, or no change?
I don't know if it's really no change, to be honest with you. I think he's always been incredible. We've talked about it before with the NBA. It's like a players-driven league. You satisfy. You got an all-star, superstar on your squad. You're pretty much doing whatever to keep him happy. For crying out loud. Both his brothers. How many brothers are on his team now? All of them? Well, with the Bucks.
The running joke about, hey, if you need a player on your team, bring over Antetokounmpo.
Right. I mean, come on. No offense, but is Thanasis on any other team right now? Probably not. Right? Probably not.
See, at this point, should general managers start looking for like only children players?
Well, it's gonna be like when Bronny goes to the NBA. If you want LeBron, draft Bronny.
Mm-hmm. Hardcore.
I love Thanasis' energy in that, but realistically, how many other teams is he on right now? Really, you know what I mean? I mean, probably not many, if any, at this point. Especially a championship caliber team. I mean, that might be the only way he's on it because he doesn't cost a lot.
But then this gets back to the whole, like, not just your brothers, family members, but also people you like. Hence the whole, Jason Kidd's going to get hired. Giannis is going there,
Well, I think the NBA is so much like this too. And I know we got to get going here, but like it was maybe a couple months ago, because I was reliving my my pain from the summer of being an Orlando Magic fan with the Tim Duncan thing. That they thought, I think this was Grant Hill that was telling the story. So if everybody wants to remember, Grant Hill, T-Mac signed up with Orlando. They thought Tim Duncan was joining them. Like, I was geeked up. I think that's when I started my GeoCities Orlando Magic website. But, everybody thought, but Grant Hill was telling the story. He was at a dinner with Duncan. It was the recruiting pitch. And Doc Rivers was there. And at that time, he said it was Tim Duncan's girlfriend, maybe now wife, I'm not sure, but his significant other asked about family members flying with the team, traveling with the team. And Doc said, no, that's not allowed. And that was a deciding factor why Duncan went back to the Spurs.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I'm like, son of a, that alone was the deciding factor. Because they all thought Duncan was going. Like Grant was saying, we all figured, but it was that moment.
Wow, I'm trying to process this. Like, does this make me think less of Tim Duncan? Because the thought was, well, he's loyal to one team for his career. Oh, he was ready. He was going to jump, with the exception of the family rule. Or does this make me think higher of Tim Duncan of, well, he wanted to have his family be part of what he's doing, and that was not allowable. So he was putting family first, which is what a lot of us try to aspire to do.
Mm-hmm.
Which one is that?
I don't know, but you look at a lot of these teams now, and how much do they factor in, family, bringing them in, embracing them.
Wow.
Sort of thing. Times changed.
It's become, does that happen today? Tim Duncan in the summer of 2023 as a free agent is Doc
at his
Rivers,
prime.
Right. Is a coach saying nope?
No, that's the thing. I think, that was Doc Rivers too much stuck in the good old days, back then.
And he was a fairly new coach at that time.
Yeah.
But right, it was different. We didn't hear about players being, if there was a brother that was playing in the same sport, it was, that's kind of cool. Their brother also plays football. Their brother also plays basketball. It wasn't a strategic thing.
Because here's the thing, like if Giannis is a free agent and he's going to the Knicks, and that's a question, what do you think the Knicks are going to say? Oh yeah, your kids, you're white. We'll get you your own plane if you want.
Yep.
That's
anything to get that player.
Yep.
Anything. That's legal and sometimes pseudo legal.
Brett Favre had his own locker locker room. So
the Packers are progressive in the 2000s.
I just saw something the other day. Apparently, Tom Brady had another locker where his teammates dropped off items for him to sign. A separate locker for that.
Jeez. Which, I mean, that's cool that he did it, but wow.
Yeah.
A whole locker for that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that weird? Is your teammates too? Like how many times did teammates drop off something? You've got like a max of teammates. I don't know. Weird. Nobody does that for me around here, though.
Yet.
All right, we got like less than a minute to the top of the hour here, so we'll do some stock reports coming up after the news updates here. So stock risers, whose stock is falling, or whose stocks are whose stock is rising, whose stock is falling. There, trying to beat the shot clock here a little bit. So you got yours already, Luke? Luke isn't. Luke's not paying attention to me right now, everybody.
Oh, hi. Sorry. Hello. I was getting distracted by minor league baseball.
Wow.
Brewer minor league baseball.
Okay.
No.
So
prospects.
Gotcha. All right.
Brock Wilken.
Yeah, the rookie. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Let's we got 2 in already. 1 more to go. News updates, stock reports coming up in just a couple minutes. third and final hour on this Wednesday morning. Appreciate you tuning in wherever, however you're going to be or you are tuning in. We'll get to some football talk coming up here. Packers will return to practice to prepare for the Atlanta Falcons. Lucas's Vikings traveling to Philly, I'm imagining, today to take on the Eagles tomorrow. So we got some stock reports, too. I don't know if you saw this on the mothership here. I haven't had a chance to read it. But so remember, when was the last time we said the word biogenesis? Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Did you see this on ESPN?
I saw the headline. I have not yet read it, but
So,
yeah.
An exclusive ESPN investigation, the biogenesis files, and exclusive DEA documents show how superstar athletes cheated. One of the pictures in it is Ryan Braun. In fact, there's a separate article.
Mm-hmm.
DEA documents show how Braun built biogenesis doping defense.
That is a heck of a collage that they have in the picture accompanying that.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait to read this about Braun. I want to know where this came up. I mean, yeah.
It's kind of a long read. It's not
it
the
is.
longest.
That's why I
it's
can't
not the
skim
longest
through it.
read ever, but there's stuff in this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there are quotes.
Yep.
Lots of quotes.
Yep. So I'm really interested in reading this
and
because
timestamps.
Yeah,
if that's any indication.
Yep. So
oh boy,
it's going to be an interesting article here. I got a feeling here. So,
boy.
Okay, let's do some stock reports. All right, we'll start with you, Lucas. Stock riser is who or what?
Stock riser for this week is this. Well, this is the last time I think I'm ever going to say this. The Pac-12. What a way to go out!
Yeah,
I mean, I started pondering last night. Is it possible we could have an all Pac-12 national championship game this year? Would that be fun?
No.
I mean, not really fun, but given look, it's not exactly like the Pac-12 was really trying hard to be a conference, and all these teams just left us. They're so mean. No. There's more to it than that. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the Pac-12, it's the old. There's plenty of blame to go around, but given what's happening, given that we almost certainly will not have a Pac anything next year.
I don't want Washington State in the Big Ten because apparently Wisconsin can't beat them. So, yeah,
teeing up by my next stock one there, but yeah, what the heck? The kryptonite apparently. But yeah, overall, just what was it? 8 teams in the AP. I'm trying to remember the exact number that are in the rankings this week.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot.
Yep.
And okay, yeah, it's also early. It's still mid-September. We have a long ways to go. But yeah, this is kind of a if this kind of even sort of holds throughout the rest of the season, if they end up with 5 in the top 25 by the end of the season, which I think is realistic, I guess good way for the Pac-12, the Pacific whatever conference to be done. If it is in fact done and Wazoo and Oregon State can't find some way to resuscitate it, that's pretty nice cap, I guess.
My stock riser is also in the college football world. But hook 'em horns, Texas is back, baby. Stock risers.
Wow.
Beating Alabama.
They did
it.
They actually overperformed.
Mm-hmm. Hook 'em horns in front of the man himself, Matthew McConaughey, the Minister of Culture is his official title at the University of Texas, which is the best job title ever in the world, I think. Yeah, Quinn Ewers, hook 'em horns, baby. Yep. It's all Paul Chris, too. Remember, he's an offensive consultant or whatever his title is there. Boom. Texas. They're back.
I was about to say, maybe we didn't really realize this, or maybe we should have. Did Texas officially succeed Georgia as the unable to meet expectations team Georgia for the longest time was that team.
When Mark Richt was there and that.
Yep, and they had the #1 recruiting class like every single year, and they always had a bad loss midseason.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of overlapped with Texas, but then once Georgia actually started winning championships, and Texas still was like, great guys, you really think you're going to be a top 5 team? Good job losing to another. So, okay, again, it's early. Texas can very easily fall off the cliff, but number 4 is still something. I'm trying to think of the last time. Did the AP poll write-ups, did they say the last time Texas was ranked that high? Are we going back to Vince Young? Or, well, no, 2009 they were that good when they lost to Alabama. Is that how far back we have to go?
Maybe. I don't know off the top of my head. I have to look that up.
Feels like a long time since Texas was in that ballpark of rankings or ratings or anything like that. Well, so stock faller is the Wisconsin Badgers. See, maybe they should have kept Paul Christ.
Yeah.
Maybe,
right.
Maybe
or Jim Leonard, but I guess Illinois is not doing that great either, though, too. So
well, see, that's what they get for hiring Wisconsin types. I'm not even ripping on the Badgers. It's just like, okay, again, for the third time in this segment, it's early. 2 weeks worth of the season. If you're 31st in the rankings, you can come back out. I mean, I think they're pretty much a lock at this point to peak at it's still the Outback Bowl, one of the Central Florida bowls where they play every year. Is RJ worried? I didn't hear him yesterday.
Not really, and I think a lot of it's just maybe some people and RJ was one. He had Badgers 9-3 this year. And I think it's maybe just, did we, again, have expectations way too high because we were drinking a lot of the Luke Fickell Kool-Aid for year 1. So I wouldn't say he's necessarily worried.
Badger, tell me if my assessment is right, and because I'm not a Badger fan, I'm a step removed. But you tell me if this is accurate. Badger fans, and this is an understandable trait because plenty of fan bases go through this, tend to get a little irrationally exuberant about, here comes a 5-star quarterback. Here comes this coach. Here's our breakthrough. And the thought is, this is the moment. Something that we really haven't seen with the program is going to happen, i.e. Heisman Trophy winner who's not a running back or college football playoff appearance. And this is the ticket. And then it underwhelms. Again, it's way too early to say Luke Fickell is underwhelmed. Way, 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 way too early to do that. But I have to imagine there's a sizable chunk of Badger fans that are starting to be like, oh, was that the right hire? Again, it's early. Am I right about Badger fans in that they do tend to overreact a little bit and then set themselves up for disappointment?
I want to know if I want to pigeonhole it just to Badgers. I think it's programs that maybe don't have the consistent success like in Alabama that are always up there because we're looking to take that next step and we've been close so many times, and you kind of get caught that, hey, that 5-star recruit's going to be the guy that takes us over the top a little bit, and that's what sets us up maybe for a little disappointment, if that makes sense.
Yeah. You're on the verge, but there's a sameness to the program that you're like, if we could just be a little different.
And I think it's similar to, in essence, maybe like the Brewers a little bit too, because like David Stern's close, right? Close. And you're just wondering what's a big gripe from Brewers fans. Well, if they just spent a little bit more, free agent sort of thing.
Yeah. I can see that.
Or even Green Bay with the
draft picks and
instead of drafting guys all the time, sign a free agent.
Yeah,
maybe it's a Wisconsin mindset. I don't know, but the Bucks are different, so they're the weirdos.
And they actually won a championship.
Yeah, they're the one that's the most recent with a championship.
So apparently, there's something to that. I could very easily change my mind on the Badgers, but I'd say the stock is down in the sense of they're probably at about a realistic worst case scenario for them right now in terms of could they go to the college football playoff, which I know a championship this year is still a championship, but I'm not as diehard for my team's got it. Like the Gophers aren't getting there. I mean, I know they're 2-0. They're not getting there, but
they have not looked good in their 2 games.
No,
and I the Nebraska one, okay, first game, but then it's like they're really not like really rowing that boat very fast.
It took a while to pull ahead. Speaking of that, to row ahead of Eastern Michigan. I know that the margin was actually pretty good by the end. But are you going? Wow, they are good. I mean, maybe they end up winning the Big Ten West. They do have a Big Ten West one-game advantage right now because of their one win. Okay, this is a long time to go. No, that hardly any of them are looking that great right now. But well, there's another one. East and West divisions, college football playoff. I'm kind of not excited about any of it because it's all irrelevant after this year anyway. Like, big whoop. Yeah, we'll win the Big Ten West. Cool. It doesn't exist after this year. He made it the top 4. Great. It's going to be 12 next year. So, yeah, okay. Like, this is an odd transition season overall.
Yeah. All right.
I'm excited about the games, but there's a lot, like, again, Pac-12, cool. You're not really going to exist after this year. It's a weird year.
I'm going to kind of call an audible here on my stock faller, based off of I haven't even got halfway, but I'm looking at some of the quotes here. Stock faller Ryan Braun, because I honestly feel like in the last few years, like, his stock kind of in a little bit more of a positive good grace with Brewers fans and fans in general. I think now with this article that's going to be coming out, it's going to go back down. You know what I mean? Like, he was kind of like, okay, he's Ryan Braun and, maybe ending. He retired a Brewer and all that. It's going to go back down. It's going to go back down.
That's that bad from what you're seeing?
Some of the stuff here, yeah. It's not great.
Oh.
It's not great. So,
boy.
Because, anytime you bring up let's just say a negative thing from your life and it gets back into the media and that sort of thing, your stock's going to go back down here a little bit.
Was next, or is there anything next, remind me, for Ryan Braun in terms of like potential future honors? He's not making the Baseball Hall of Fame. We know that.
No. I seriously wonder, because he is so close with Brewers owner Mark Anasio, right? He's really close to him. I wouldn't have been surprised if at some point number 8 would have been retired. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I don't know and I don't know if I would agree with it, but those two are like bros, like they're really, really close. And it wouldn't have surprised me if Anasio did that.
If this becomes a bigger deal, and again, the mothership is promoting it, but we'll see. Sometimes there are seemingly really big stories and like it doesn't latch on at all in sports culture. And you're like, oh, remember when this was supposed to be a big deal? I hope this latches on because it's important enough. The overall Tony Bosch thing. If it is that big of a deal, though, I'm just going
to read a couple of quotes that I went through here. So this was a text exchange between, Bosch and this guy, Marcelo Alber, a Braun friend and former University of Miami baseball teammate. Marcelo, our boy is playing incredible. Tony Bosch, hey, tell our boy not to take any more trotches and throw the cream away. This guy is out of control. LOL. Albar, ha 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 ha. This guy is a beast. Talking about Braun. And then Commissioner, just reading it down here, back in Milwaukee, then Commissioner Bud Selig, who had earlier purchased the Brewers and brought them to the Midwestern city, was devastated when tipped off about the team's much beloved player by his chief assistant, Rob Manfred. Selig wrote in For Good of the Game that his understudy didn't always call me with positive results, came in on drug tests, but with Braun, he gave me the courtesy of a heads up. Do what you have to do, Selig told Manfred.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow. That's not good.
No. And there's more text quotes on here and all that stuff. So, Tony, what's up? Long time no talk. Hope all is well. This is from that Albert guy. I was wondering if you can provide more of the ibuprofen cream and also something to help give more energy for Ryan. He wants something to give him a boost, but not having to take any shots. Let me know if that's possible. Thanks, Tony Bosch. I can give him an infusion before the postseason that will take him over the top. Just need the expense paid. I usually charge $2,000 per infusion. It will be a gift and a closing point for the next season. He won't be able to live without it. Okay, perfect. Going to talk to him soon. I'll get back to you.
Huh.
Will the gummies and the cream be ready by today? Oh, boy. Yeah, there's more stuff on here. So,
not good.
No.
So this is the 2011 postseason.
Yeah.
If the
where he was on a tear.
Yeah.
Because I remember, I was at Game 5,
Yeah.
And when Tony P was up and Gomez was on second, we were all saying, just don't make a stupid play. Get Braun up there, because we all thought the way Braun was playing, he was going to get that winning run in. Because Braun was on deck after Tony P, Niger Morgan, and then lo and behold, yeah.
So, if the Brewers had won the World Series that year,
Oof.
This would have been litigated in public a lot already, because this is the Braun controversy is not new.
Mm-hmm.
But with this additional information, could you asterisk a Brewers 2011? I think it depends on how the World Series would have gone. Would Ryan Braun have been like the deciding factor? It's like if Ryan Braun gets injured in Game 1 and the Brewers go on to win a 7-game World Series over the Rangers, then
I don't think you put that on there, because they didn't do it for the Astros.
That's true.
Or they're not doing it for records, personal records.
And they haven't done it for the closest example to a player. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the closest example to a player who was evidently cheating, who almost won a championship, and maybe was the core reason that they could have won that championship, was Barry Bonds in the 2002 World Series, where the Giants came this close to winning. If not for that 8th inning, the Giants, was that in Game 6, I think?
I think so, yeah.
The Giants would have won the World Series. And, of course, we were kind of in real time going, what's up with Barry Bonds? And I haven't heard too much relitigation of that, but I think it also helps that he didn't win the World Series, so we don't have to talk about that. So we haven't really had to talk about 2011 with the Brewers too much because of, they didn't win it. So, man, that I think it would have depended on exactly how much Braun was responsible for winning a World Series. If he was like single-handedly doing it. And the thing is, he wasn't the sole reason. He wasn't only carrying the team. There were plenty of other good players and plenty of other good performances on that 2011 team. So I think they would have won the World Series with Braun's help, but I don't think it would have been just Braun.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a long way of saying I don't think there would have been an asterisk, but it would have been in the conversation with the 2017 Astros, and that's not a good spot to be.
Mm-hmm.
Where even though there's not an asterisk, and there never will be, there's always this thought with 2017 of, well, they cheated. Yeah. And it would suck for the Brewers if that had happened. In a weird way, they kind of dodged a bit of a bullet. Like, you want the World Series championship, but you don't want it to be sullied.
Mm-hmm.
Your one championship is looked at askance by everyone else. No, so that's not a good article. I mean, It's a good article. It's not a good story for Braun.
No, and it goes into the detail with the whole story too, where they challenged the the collecting process. Remember that? That's how he won it. What was the collecting process, and that was apparently a lawyer came up with that story, if we will.
Mm-hmm.
It says Braun was the drug cheat, but he didn't craft the now much maligned defense that led to the first successful challenge by an MLB player of a positive test. Braun just agreed to it, and he later told federal agents that, quote, the chain of custody issue was deemed a better chance of succeeding than fighting the failed drug test. So, yeah, and then there's more on here. They successfully argued the test collector had failed to follow protocol when he took the urine sample home and stored it over the weekend. Braun told people he had been told the courier had been previously accused of being an anti-Semite and a Cubs fan who had it in for the Brewers.
Oh, yeah.
Although there was no open FedEx center at which the sample would be dropped off and no evidence that the sealed test had been tampered with, the 48-hour delay proved to be a deciding factor in the arbitrator's ruling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah, and then Tony Bosch said about the collector, basically everything was against the guy. The guy was as innocent can be. Oh, man.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay, there we go. Folks, enjoy reading that.
Yeah.
And I mean that very sarcastically because I don't think you are going to enjoy reading that.
Unless you were never a Braun fan. Then
unless if you're anti-Braun, sure.
Yeah.
Or if you're going for the history, which I mean, it is history. It is knowledge. It's good to know
I
what was going on.
still remember watching his presser, where was it spring training? I think he came out.
Yep,
when
they have the
won in that.
Yeah, they have the photo in there in 2012.
Yeah, I still remember watching that at when I was working at the Y when that came out, and I still remember, who came to his defense adamantly it was Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
because they were friends, and then, well, as we know, if you screw around with Rodgers, he cuts ties like that.
Yeah.
Because they had a restaurant together. Remember that? 8-12 or 12-8 or something like that.
Gosh,
and that blew up. And Oh, wow. Again, we never know the true story with some of these people.
Nope. We think we do, but it's celebrity.
We think we do, and we hope we do. Yeah, the good stuff we hear, we hope that's really them. But
that's a good way of putting it. We hope we know them.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought of it that way, but that's even more accurate than we think we know. We hope. How many times have we said, I think they're a good person?
Mm-hmm.
Well, but we don't know.
Right. Yep.
Probably, but maybe not.
All right.
On that fun note.
Yeah. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be back in just a couple minutes. This Friday, Blue Marble Pub. Got a little kegs and eggs going on starting at 10 a.m., 10 to 1. So stop on by. Brandon and I are actually going to do a live episode of the Man Cave podcast over there, too. So stop on by. And in fact, we'll even buy you a brew. How about that? Because Oktoberfest kicking off already this Friday. Man.
Wow.
But, yeah.
At least the weather has kicked in just perfectly for it.
That's true.
Good timing, too, on the weather getting cool just in time for Sunday of week 1.
Yeah.
I was not feeling it for the longest time because it's hot, humid, and then just in time. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Oh, by the way, I don't think you said this in the NFL Primetime's history, in the This Day in History. This date, 1987, NFL Primetime.
Wow.
Premiered.
Wow.
Good evening once again, everybody. I'm Chris Berman. Welcome to ESPN's debut of NFL Primetime. And we hope
I know it's not really related, but since we're talking like NFL shows, it's kind of maybe a grind my gears, or maybe actually a stock faller.
Okay.
These pregame shows, man, I'm not the biggest. Like, how many people can they squeeze on a set?
You're going there. You're doing it. I was pondering doing that. Seriously, I was struggling with my stock faller, and for a moment I pondered the CBS set because I didn't watch the NFL today, but I caught a little bit of the halftime during Vikings Buccaneers, and I saw JJ Watt on there, and I go, oh wait, did they really just squeeze him in? And then they go to the wide shot. Oh my gosh, they did. Oh, how many people are on this set now?
Yeah, it's just. And then for here's the thing. I don't know the last time I watched a full-on pregame show. Like I can't do it at times. Once in a while I'll watch a few minutes of that. And I thought JJ was good, in the few minutes, but it's just like, good Lord, can they fit any more on that? Especially like on the Fox one too, when Jimmy's actually in town and they're like trying to cram everybody on that table or that desk. It's like, whoo, man. It's like as soon as the next, who's going to be the next person that retires, and they're going to networks are going to try to add on to there. I don't, Tom Brady is apparently still going to go into booth, which I still have my doubts on, to be honest with you. So, Aaron Rodgers ain't going to do it. We know that he ain't going to do anything like that. So I don't know, but it's nuts, man. It's all about getting but they don't replace anybody. They just like, nope, keep adding on.
I like how
adding on.
I like how Phil Simms is the one guy that's on the other side of James Brown.
Yeah, right.
Why is that?
Phil Simms, I feel like, no offense to Phil Simms, but Phil Simms feels like the guy that nobody knows what to do with. Like, he's too nice. We don't want to let him go. We got to, he's like the guy you put in right field in your softball team or your baseball team just to tuck away somewhere, because he's the guy who got kicked off for Tony Romo. Well, we don't want to let him go, so let's put him in the studio. But, we're not going to put him next to the other guys in the studio. We're going to put him on the other side there. So it's like, you don't know what to do with the guy. But he's too nice, and you don't want to, replace him or move on from him. That's what I feel like Phil Simms is at right now.
Yes. Jimmy Johnson kind of in a not quite the same scenario, but there's a little bit of that there as well. Yeah, because what is it going to be too controversial to knock them off? I think that's what it is. They're afraid of bad PR. Yeah. So let's add more and more until they decide to retire, but they don't want to retire. So you end up with bloated shows. This is like a variation of the problem on like ESPN's NBA halftime broadcast / ABC, where they got to do quick thing, and you can't get anything really accomplished. I've barely watched any pregame stuff. Like the only pregame stuff I think I've watched going back until like when you kind of had to watch them back in like up into like the mid 90s. And then after that, when the internet really started to kick in, you're like, oh, I can get this information here. Cool. Was the Charlie Casserly segments on the NFL Today because they actually had Charlie Casserly actually had some pretty good insight. It was one of the few times you could find that on TV in the aughts and the 2010s. I can't remember the exact years, but it was to the point where I made a point to listen to Charlie Casserly. The only other times are when we would go on Packer bus trips to Green Bay, and in Stadium View Sports Bar, they'd have like NFL Countdown on. if we're going to a noon game. So I'd see that, but that's only because that was playing on the big screens. I don't watch them. Why? Yeah. I just don't.
I saw some of those desks and I'm like, oh my gosh.
I mean, ESPN's been worse.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are.
Like 9 people on the set or something. How are you? No, we know what the problem is with it. It's stupid. It's stupid. But JJ Watt's on there, so you better watch.
And I thought he was good. I thought he was solid for his first one.
And
here's the thing. And no offense, again, I'm not trying to, but like, okay, that's a guy who just recently played, so maybe he's got a little bit more of the insight. It's like the Tony Romo his first year, everybody loved him. Yeah. You know, and I think that's where Greg Olson's so good too. You know, they are more recent in this kind of style of the game, this era of the game. Those guys played against some of those guys, so when they're talking about preparing against Patrick Mahomes or something like that, I feel like JJ Watt probably has a little bit more insight into it than, and I like the guy, but like Howie Long, you know, because JJ Watt played against him a few times. He might know a little bit more.
Like I would be good with a CBS show like an NFL Today that was JJ Watt and Nate Burleson, just those two. Burleson seems to get a lot, and understandably so because he's good. He seems to get a lot of the attention on there.
And he's polished, I think, too, because what he does CBS mornings, you know, news in the mornings and that,
he's
too.
Moved over to that.
It's like a Michael Strahan thing.
Kind of is, yeah. That's where they should move their focus. I'm sorry. Let's move on from Coach Cowher. Let's move on from Phil. Let's do that. I mean, is the reason they're holding on to the older football types because the people that do watch those shows are the ones that grew up watching the NFL Today and et cetera, and they will turn it on at 11 or 10:30 or 10 o'clock and watch that.
Maybe. Yeah. Because the younger ones are streaming or not doing it or
not caring about it. Anyone listening right now, is anyone like to the point where you're like, I have to watch NFL on Fox NFL Sunday, sorry. The NFL Today, ESPN Monday Night Countdown. Like, cool that they got Scott Van Pelt on there, and he's pretty much a must watch, but I'm still not watching it because it's a pregame show, and I don't care about that.
Yeah,
I don't, but that's you and me, and we don't necessarily care about that. But maybe there's a whole lot of people listening right now. They're like, yeah, sure, we're all in at 11.
And I think I'm more of like team centric at this point. Yeah, you know, like I want to listen. Plug our own thing, but you know, I'm more of a team centric sort of thing too. Like I'd rather listen to like, okay, I want to listen to my team's pregame show or talk about them because, you know, if I watch these ones on TV, they might spend a minute talking about the team that I only care about, that I only want to watch.
I need something, back to the Casserly point. I need to hear something that I'm not going to get anywhere else, but I will come out of this smarter, more knowledgeable than I was before watching it. If it's just your take, unless it's such a white hot media figure that you got to watch them, like I mean, not that I'm a Stephen A. Smith guy, but someone like a Stephen A. Smith, where you go, okay, cool. Or inside the NBA, Shaq and Kenny and Charles Barkley.
Yep.
Sure. I mean,
that's where one works, where Barkley's been out of the game so long, but he's just so like goofy and like ridiculous at times that it actually fits well into their program. You know what I mean? Like, he says some weird stuff, but he's also like one that's not afraid to call out LeBron or the Lakers or anything like that, which is total opposite from some other networks. That's all they talk about.
His personality got big enough that it didn't matter his playing time.
Yeah.
And that's a tricky thing to pull off, and he did. Which that's why it's tough to recreate. Who's the next Chuck out there?
Yeah,
for any of these leagues, who's next? And I don't know who that is for ESPN, for Fox, for NBC. I don't know. I mean, no offense to Jason Garrett, but Jason Garrett and Tony Dungy, is that exciting? No,
I've never been a big Tony Dungy. I've never been big on Tony Dungy there.
No, I mean,
now I'm trying to think of like who would be like the next Barkley in football. In terms of like, you know, I mean, some people are probably going to say like Pat McAfee.
And okay, if Pat McAfee, if one of these networks, okay, Len, it would be ESPN right now. If they said, screw it, Pat McAfee show is going to be our pregame.
I think that would actually really boost up a lot of viewership. I honestly do. Yeah.
Monday Night Countdown, hosted by Pat McAfee.
Well, I mean, look at what he's doing on College Game Day right now.
Yeah.
How that's changed.
Well, and there's a dynamic to that right now. There's one that's in transition. Lee Corso's barely hanging on.
Yep.
Kirk Herbstreit seems to be a little, I mean, is he too polished now for that show?
I think he is, and I think he's like the perfect counterpart to Al Michaels in terms of the polishness.
Yeah.
I'm glad you use that word because it's like those two I'd see why work perfectly well on Thursday Night Football.
Right. But I don't know that necessarily works in the College Game Day setting.
Nope.
I mean,
when
Fowler's great.
When you
work.
embrace like that on campus and all those students going crazy, you need somebody like a Pat McAfee to rile it up.
Right. And boy, can he do that. And he will for at least a few more years for sure. And after that, we don't know. Maybe.
For crying out loud, how many other shows got Nick Saban to commit to make an appearance every week, every Thursday on his show?
It's huge.
Yeah.
That is the one must-watch pregame show. Inside the NBA is a must-watch postgame show, an in-game show. College Game Day is the one must-watch pregame show. Because so much stuff is happening, so much weird stuff is happening, and
But is it also because it's not as like CBS has one, ESPN has one, NFL Network has one, Fox has one. There's one college, pregame that we all know. Like when you think of a college pregame show, we all think of that one.
Yeah, Fox has one.
But we don't think of it necessarily.
Yeah, they've tried to make it a bigger deal. But yeah, like
yes, NBA has one a little bit, but it's TNT with Chuck and Ernie and Shaq.
Right.
And then there's Kenny Smith talking about his North Carolina days. And
plus, everyone gets excited about where is College Game Day
where's it going to go
next week?
Yep.
I think most of us that have any knowledge of college football, we're like, what does this mean? Why are they going to this city? Like it's fascinating.
And you get upset when they don't go to a certain one or something like that.
People get so angry about that. Sports saying, well, some people probably get legit angry and they shouldn't, but that's the point. The emotions are up there more so than, gosh, can you imagine if like the NFL today decided that they were going to choose which NFL stadium to go to in a given week?
And the only ones they do that for the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
They'll go there.
Well, the problem is then they set up right next to the PA system so Sam Hunt can drown them out.
Yeah, right. No kidding.
But yeah, like it needs to be reimagined. I don't think you have to necessarily cancel it because, again, College Game Day shows you can do something with it, but that may be unique to the college environment that you can't recreate on the pro level, even with the sports insanity of NFL fans, and we're all into it. Blah, blah, blah. Would that still really work on the pro level compared to the college level? I don't know that it translates because college kids will do anything. They're too young to know better.
They're a little bit more, the signage is a little bit more creative. Let's say that might be the most polite way to say it.
Right, and they go so next level that you almost can't quite figure it out. I don't think NFL fans bother that much for that. They don't need to, but they're not going to come up with some really, really, really clever inside joke that's incredibly hilarious just because that doesn't match the culture. That's okay. So I don't know that you'd be able to do it. But it'd be nice if these shows did go around and did that. I think that would add something more to it. And yes, please cut down the number of people on the shows. Yeah. Please do it.
Because even College Game Day now is getting a little ridiculous when you're trying to squeeze everybody on there. But
back to that point. Are you going to kick off Lee Corso? No.
That's the thing. Yeah, you're not going to kick him off.
No. So you add people on, and then it gets bloated.
It does. It does. So,
and I'm still not watching. I'm sorry.
If I had to pick one, like if you could pick your all-star football pregame show from all the networks, I think my host would be Rich Eisen, because I still feel like I gotta be entertained in it a little bit. And I think Rich Eisen is. I love his draft coverage too.
Yes.
For as long as they got to sit there, you got to keep people entertained, and I think he does a really good job at that. So my host would be Rich Eisen. That's over Kurt Menefee, that's over James Brown, and Sam Ponder or whoever's doing ESPN 1 and now. So Rich would be my host. In terms of analysts, I'll be honest, I think Randy Moss does a good job.
Yeah.
I do think Randy does a good job. And the thing is too with Fox, they got the pregame show. They got the hour show before where it's Edelman and Gronk is on there. with Carissa Thompson.
I mean,
it's like, what's the point of that? Can't you just make it a 2-hour pregame show then?
How
like what's the point of that?
Are they really getting that great of ratings on that?
I don't know. I feel like if you got Gronk, wouldn't you almost put him more in a prime time situation, prime slot? I feel like people would tune in just to see what stupid things Gronk would say.
Yeah.
Is Gronk kind of a Charles Barkley-esque? Could he be?
I think almost. Not exactly, but in the closest. Yeah, I think he can.
I think he can be in terms of the goofiness, but in terms of calling out stuff, I don't know if he's quite there yet. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I don't see him going out and calling out Bill Belichick or the Patriots.
I don't know that he has to do that either. I think he can find his own lane. Again, you're not going to recreate Charles Barkley in any capacity, but you could be someone as big as Charles Barkley for other reasons, and he could get there. I just need to see more, but I'm kind of inclined to think Pat McAfee might be on the path already. He might have subsumed Gronk. There's so much dynamic there. Like, I'm not to the point where I have to go watch what Pat McAfee says, but I could be.
There's 2 current players right now that I think if they were to retire, and one of them was actually really close this year, but I feel like they have to be a pair. That, if I was a media head network executive, it's the Kelsey brothers. Like, I don't know if you've listened to their podcast a little bit or seen clips of it.
I know enough to know what you mean. Yeah.
Those 2 are really good. The only thing I worry about is if you put them in a setting like that, then are you almost handcuffing their personalities a little bit where you're not really seeing, because if anybody's listened to their podcasts or seen clips of it, like on Instagram, TikTok or whatever, those 2 can be really funny together and they're really good. But I almost wonder if you get into a situation where you can't. That's where, again, McAfee won it because nobody's really kind of handcuffed his personality. And I feel like if I had to pick current players right now, I look at the Kelsey brothers as maybe those 2. But they got to be a pair. They got to be a pair.
I think you might have to have, you could have a host. I don't think you'd want to have just those 2 do a morning show. But
No.
But what if you were to have Rich Eisen with the Kelsey brothers?
Right.
That's your show. I think there's some potential with that. Some real potential with that.
Yeah, because I'm just trying to think of current players who I think would be decent at it.
Yeah.
And I don't mind entertainment with mine. I feel like it's good to, if it's just a plain old, it's kind of stuffy, all numbers and stats. It's like, oh, cool, I can look that up, sort of thing.
And I'm still of the opinion, in a slightly alternate universe, that Aaron Rodgers could actually have made for a heck of an analyst. And maybe he still could. I don't think that's the kind of career he even wants anyway. I think he thinks differently enough. That might get really fascinating. But yeah, it's not going to happen. Would Aaron Rodgers added number 9 on the NFL today?
So let me ask you one more, and I know we got to take a break. What if Manning cast was a pregame? Peyton and Eli.
Because then they're not reacting to stuff. Then they're actually chatting this out, and that's more intriguing. It doesn't get me necessarily to watch, but at least I'm considering it more than I would the current shows, which that's kind of the goal. Just get more eyeballs. I think that's a good idea. That they probably don't want to be.
They don't want to do it every day.
No,
they want to pick and choose some of the games
on the
that they
mornings
can do.
Acting. That's a fun thing.
That's
to do.
part of their. I don't want to say. I don't know. Shtick is the right word, but that's part of the thing, right? Because what was everybody talking about with the Manning cast? How disgusted Peyton was with Zach Wilson's play. How disappointed Peyton Manning was about Aaron Rodgers' injury. I thought he was just going to tape it up and go out there. Eli's puns once in a while. That's what everybody talks about is their instant reaction sort of stuff. And maybe that takes away from their strength.
It's why Twitch gaming reaction things are a big thing. It's why it's a little more cultish, but it's a reason why Mystery Science Theater was so popular. The whole let's react to this, the puns, if you can get the right kind of people. I mean,
well, look at Barstool Sports. What's one of their big things? You're watching people watch a game.
Yeah. That's fun. If you're with the right people, that is a absolute blast. More so than analyzing before or after. It's fun to watch it in real time, get people's authentic reactions. And if you get some people that got some really dry humor, that's some of the best way to experience sports.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know that. Well, I think that would be a Manning cast pregame would be better than the current ones. I don't think they would want to do it.
I don't think they would either.
No.
Although I think, if Omaha Productions is looking at something, maybe
recruit someone else into the game. Maybe they bring on the Kelseys.
And I kind of wonder if the Kelseys are in, because Jason Kelce's documentary just dropped on Amazon. So they got that. They got their podcast going. Travis Kelce had his own dating show. So, I mean, they're not afraid of the camera.
No.
Or the media.
No.
So
they might.
And then you add in their mom. She became famous during the Super Bowl. So
maybe they go online with something. But I mean, that's where the growth is anyway. I mean, we're still talking about linear television, and as we've been talking about with the whole Charter Disney thing, that's not exactly a growth area right now.
Yeah.
If we're trying to hold on to 50 plus viewers who remember growing up with linear television, cool for now, but that's by definition 50 eventually becomes 55 plus, eventually becomes 60 plus. And at a certain point you run out of age plus. Then what do you do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know that you're even going to have these shows like 30 years from now when, again, who's watching? Who's turning on CBS at 11 o'clock to watch the NFL today when you didn't grow up watching it?
Mm-hmm.
You don't care.
Well, every Packer fan should be tuning in to the Green and Gold Tailgate Show
That they should do. Of course.
This Sunday at 10 a.m.
Yes.
Right here on the radio dials. So just all right, we gotta take a break and wrap it up. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Brewers will be back in action tonight. First pitch around 6:40. With a win tonight, the Brewers will win this series, but it's a 4-game series, so they got another one against Miami tomorrow at 1:10 before they welcome the Washington Nationals to Milwaukee beginning on Friday. Brewers up 4 on the Cubs for first place in the division. Magic number is down to 14. Again, that's a combination. It could be 14 wins for the Brewers or a combination of Brewers wins and Cubs losses, like yesterday, because it began the day at 16. Brewers won, Cubs lost. So there you go, down to 14.
I like talking magic numbers right now. That's really cool. I'm trying to think of if this is going to sync up. I'm going to go to a Twins game on the 26th. They're playing Oakland. And they may have already clinched by then, the way that Cleveland's losing and the Twins are doing fine. But the thought has been in the back of my mind, that might be a clinching night, potentially.
Yeah.
Maybe. We'll see.
Yeah.
By the way, for our cut blocking discussion earlier, the cut blocking page in Wikipedia, it's a pretty short one, but it includes a reference to Aaron Rodgers' injury.
Already. I mean, it was probably up there within 5 minutes. Some people just, come on now. Like Wikipedia's got to be their life where they got to update that stuff.
On another Monday Night Football game between the New York Jets and Buffalo Bills on September 11th, 2023, the Jets' Dwayne Brown used a cut block on the Bills' Leonard Floyd, but Floyd, et cetera, et cetera. It's like one sentence, and there is a, use the Daily Mirror is there.
Oh, yeah.
Gosh, really?
Yeah, I don't know if that the turfist thing is going to start. I know the NFLPA's new director came out with a statement saying,
"Yep,
support of grass turf."
Mike Florio just did the Pro Football Talk thing of they absolutely need to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's part of me that goes, "Yeah, you all have enough money, you can figure stuff out." Now, realistically, there'd have to be a lot of jury rigging to do this. Not every place is like Arizona or Las Vegas. You just park it outside. Cool. Good luck in Minneapolis doing that. I don't know how they would do that. That would be a pretty big expenditure. But if it's a league-wide thing, then the league would probably have to pay for that and make it happen. Or do they do something like? Have you seen that the renovated stadium in where Real Madrid plays, where they have the retractable grass?
Yeah.
And like it goes down like multiple levels, and it's like shelving down there. I mean, I guess you could do something like that for places like Minneapolis and some of those other dome stadiums where you can't just move a field out.
And a lot of it too is based off of they want other stuff going on
right
in that stadium, and it's more expensive to maintain grass.
Yeah, especially up north. It's going to be more of a process. Now, do they have the money to do it? I'd like to think they do.
Yeah, like Albert Breer, this was a couple days ago. Because he was kind of going back and forth with Mitchell Schwartz about this. And he said, "I'm not making excuses. I'm calling the owners greedy and cheap. In these cases, they're definitely both. Green Bay does it right, and that's because there's no owner there pocketing the difference."
Also, it's Lambeau Field. They're never going to have artificial turf. That's an easy one. Sorry, but it's kind of true.
Or put a dome on there, too. So
Lombardi thought about it.
No, I ain't going to do it anymore, though. So.
Nope.
All right. Have a good day. We'll be back tomorrow morning, just past 6.